And here it is, the greatest advance in television since color television itself. See all color shows in living color. Once you've adjusted fine-tuning for each channel.
So there we see that it means that you can subdue a people, you can control a people by secret influence. That goes on to say under charm, to subdue by secret power, especially by that which pleases and delights the mind. So under charm there it says power to subdue opposition and gain the affections. But remember in the story of Wizard of Oz, how the Wicked Witch was having difficulty subduing her opponent. And finally she said, I know what I shall do. I take this crystal ball. She spreads her hands across the crystal ball and she creates a lovely poppy field. Oh, so beautiful. And Dorothy, the lion, the scarecrow, the Tin Man, going across this lovely poppy field, fall to what? Sleep. Is it possible that that's not just story? Is it possible that the crystal ball sits in the living room of every home practically in America? And that it comes from a place called Hollywood?
In today's video, I would like to discuss Hollywood and its occult, satanic, Illuminati, and witchcraft roots. Let's begin by understanding where the name Hollywood even came from. The mainstream sources tell us the name Hollywood Land was coined by H. Whitley, who is also known as the father of Hollywood Land in the 1800s. It was not until 1902 when filmmakers started moving to Hollywood Land to flee the harsh and strict rules imposed by Thomas Edison's Motion Picture Patents Company in New Jersey that Hollywood Land began its rise to fame. And it wasn't even until 1923 when finally filmmakers themselves dropped the last 4 letters of Hollywood Land and began calling it simply Hollywood. So in essence, Hollywood was actually coined by the filmmakers themselves. And in knowing that, we can actually presume that Hollywood has a very sinister meaning. And in fact, the occult symbology behind Hollywood's name has a very interesting and different explanation. The Druids were tree worshippers, and the holly tree was their most sacred symbol because it was sacred to their mother Holly or Hel, which is their Norse goddess of the underworld. So we have Holly or Hollywood. We also have Hellwood, the place of magic. It is also very important to note that magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's literally made out of Hollywood. Hollywood is a Druidic establishment, guys, and metaphorically, these wands are used to make movies like magic. With a wave of a wand and a spell, Hollywood actually produces these magical movies that become so famous throughout the whole world. I mean, even think of a Mickey the Magician waving his wand and casting spells on children all throughout the world. This Hollywood industry is literally a bunch of occultists, satanists, and dark magicians and sorcerers. So let's dive into a few of the symbols surrounding Hollywood and their meaning. And the first thing I really want to mention is one of the most recognizable symbols of Hollywood and of all the elite around the world, and that is the red carpet. We often see all of these world leaders and celebrities walking upon a red carpet. And this is an old symbol dating back through the concocted story of Zerah and Pharez of the time of the Druids. The red carpet is a motif representing the royal blood path or bloodline coming down from the past and running the future. This actually represents the 13 Illuminati bloodlines that we've all heard of. They have been rulers of the world for ages and eons. The 13 bloodlines date all the way back to all of these world leaders, from British and French kings to Egyptian pharaohs. They are basically all royalty, and all the current leaders of the world are all, to a point, related. There are 4 prestigious awards that an artist or actor can win, and in order from least important to most important, there are the Golden Globes for recognition in TV and film, Grammys for music and musical achievements, Emmys for television shows, and of course the Oscars, which are the most glamorous awards and are for the biggest movies of the year. So let's cut to the chase and talk about some symbology in the 2 of the highest awards someone can actually attain in Hollywood. So the second most important are the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, which are also known as the Emmys. And if you pay very close attention to the abbreviation of the National Academy of TV Arts and Sciences, you get the word NATAS, which is actually Satan backwards. My brothers and sisters, this is not a sheer coincidence. I believe when a celebrity has achieved this award, it is because their show is obviously, and of course, very popular throughout the nation, if not the whole world. But that does not happen by mere accident. We have heard many greats admit that they feel a spirit come over them when they are acting or singing. And these celebrities say they feel as though their bodies have been taken over. Guys, the bigger the demon that takes over, the more popular their show becomes. There is strong evidence that when an actor gets an achievement this big and notoriety of that status, it is because they have acted out a specific ritual or have successfully pushed the Antichrist agenda throughout the media and onto the people, which in fact is of course helping Satan to cause chaos and destruction onto this world. Whether the celebrities know what they're doing or not is a different topic all in itself, but I strongly believe that most are under some type of mind control, whether MK Ultra, some demonic influence, or even both. So let's take a look at the picture of this Emmy Award Golden Trophy. Here we could clearly see that the Emmy Award itself depicts a feminine angel with wings that are shaped like lightning bolts. And we all know these lightning bolts are huge satanic symbols, because for when Lucifer fell from heaven, he fell as lightning and became Satan. And we see this feminine angel holding what looks like a globe or a planet or a star. And this is truly blasphemous and satanic. Now, the occultists believe that Lucifer has a feminine energy to him, and that he can also symbolize Venus, which is the morning star, and that Lucifer is a light bearer. Now, it might be very odd to think of Lucifer as a female, but any encyclopedia will surely tell you that occultists, and I repeat, occultists and Romans consider Lucifer as Venus, which is in fact a very feminine energy. Consider this, my brothers and sisters. Satan often comes as a very attractive woman to deceive men. Also, we see the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is not only related to drugs and LSD, but is also a veiled reference to Lucifer as Venus or the sun. We have even seen Scarlett Johansson play in the movie Lucy last year, which had very occult and satanic references. Lucy, or Lucifer, the light bearer, could then also represent the Columbia Pictures logo, and the Statue of Liberty, which was modeled after the Colossus of Rhodes, which was a statue of the Greco-Roman Titan sun god.
And one of the biggest tools in the hands of the masters who run this world is Hollywood. Hollywood is an incredible story. I've said this, and maybe many hearing me now have heard me say this, but I'll say it again, that the white man's establishment comes from Europe. And in northern, southern, well, all four, northeast, south, and western Europe, even at the time of the Roman Empire and before, that whole section of Europe that we call the center for the white man's presence on the earth was quite literally ruled over, ancient Europe was ruled over by a priesthood called the Druids. And the Druids were they were the ministers, the priests, the judges, the lawyers, they were the religious leaders, so there was a priesthood that dominated Europe. It still does. Europe is still a Druidic country, and America is a Druidic country. And unless you understand the Druidic system, then you're never going to figure out what's going on in America and England. But one of the most important symbols in the Druid system was a magic wand, like Merlin, the magician with the magic wand, and also the orchestra leaders and conductors always have a magic wand, and you have better played the tune of the master. He directs you to play, and he directs you to stop with the magic wand. So you're dancing to his music, okay? Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And Hollywood is a Druidic establishment. And the symbols, the words, the terms, the stories
that cast a spell on you,
so that people go out from the movie and think in their minds this is the way you normally would react to a situation, the way that the guy in the movie did. And so that's why today, in the Western civilization, especially in the West, our ability to work with each other and live together as humans is so screwed up. Because we've been watching so much television and so many movies and so much silliness coming out of Hollywood, so much violence and sex and drugs and all the rest of it, that people have no idea in the world how to live anymore. They've lost their humanity.
And in the process, they seek to transform the rest of mankind into carbon copies of themselves. And as the world becomes interconnected, television is used as the master instrument for brainwashing the rest of mankind.
What has come to light is that it is not so surprising for a lot of people that there are covens amongst the very educated class, architects, doctors, lawyers, priests, brokers, and the leisure class.
These are people who have made pacts with the devil.
That's right. It's really the best, the more accurate way of describing it would be that they have indulged themselves in the worship of the goat, of the prince, of the serpent, of Satan, of Lucifer, and they lead perfectly normal lives. They're jewel merchants. They travel. They're prominent in their own way, but they do have this indulgence.
Father, here's a part of that I can never understand, that has never made sense to me, and that is, if somebody were to make a pact with the devil, then obviously the implication is if the devil is there to make a pact with them, to make a deal, to make their life, their short mortal life on earth, pleasurable, with money or women or travel,
more interesting,
whatever it is they want.
Yes.
Then they are aware of the presence of the devil, and they are obviously aware then of the presence of God as well, and they nevertheless make a conscious, stupid, short-term, blind choice to take what they can get in this lifetime. And to embrace one, you must embrace the other. It's not like it's some wishy-washy prison.
I know you do. It is a very not easy to understand, except when you talk with them, when they let their hair down and peel grapes, as we say, and when they're on their way to being cured of or healed is the proper word. You find that there's an exhilaration and a satisfaction which is both sensual and sexual and mental when they really indulge in Luciferian worship. There is a peculiar exhilaration.
Like a drug, then?
Yes.
You're doing really well now, but didn't you release a CD like almost 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
When they really indulge in Luciferian worship, there is a peculiar exhilaration.
Like a drug, then?
Yes.
You're so hypnotizing. Could you be the devil? Could you be an angel? Your touch magnetizing. Physic I am floating, leaves my body glowing. Be afraid, you're not like the others. Futuristic brothers. DNA, they don't understand you. You're from the heart of the world, a different dimension.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted, until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Well, hello everyone. I'm taking a walk today in the Hollywood Hills. Am I in the United States of America? I hear you ask. No, I'm just on the outskirts of Rome. These are the Hollywood Hills, no joke. This place is called Nemi, which in Latin is Nemus, or the Holy Wood. You see how all the trees in the hills are very, very ironically similar to the United States Hollywood in California. I think you could pretty much just insert the American Hollywood sign right in the middle of that grove, and it wouldn't look much different to what we see on television. Also, that lake right in the centre, that's called Diana's Mirror, which emperors used to sail into to assert themselves as stars. You would not believe just how many roads lead to Rome. It really makes you think. I mean, the whole thing is a bit like a net, isn't it? It's like a trap, it's a snare that they would sail into these waters, and then, unbeknown to them, they're actually being sort of lured in by its beauty, and they were to be sacrificed in the temple of Diana. Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it, with the Hollywood of today, that it kind of lures us in with its impressiveness and its beauty, and that really it's Jezebel's net, and people are being sacrificed into it. People give their all to be in it, and people get brainwashed by it, and they lose themselves to it. And people sacrifice so much of their time, so much of their life to Hollywood. It's exactly the same thing. The sheer amount that Hollywood and the mainstream media have changed people, have distracted people, have changed their lives, have made people more self-engrossed, encouraged self-worship. It's amazing how much television has changed this world, has changed so many cultures and corrupted so many cultures across the whole world, all from that one place, casting its spell over the viewers. And sure enough, just off the coast of the water, the Temple of Diana, where they used to sacrifice the people that came into this water. So it's clear that the Mother Goddess worship was very prevalent in this area. The holy wood, the worship of the huntress. You can see the bow and arrow symbolism everywhere. But no tellings what people used to do here. They quite literally used to sacrifice those people in this Temple of Diana. Of course, this is thousands of years old now. You can vividly picture really how evil this pagan worship actually is. It's absolutely satanic. Look at the fruits of it. Now, still, this is the mistake that some make. They think that this has all completely vanished and this doesn't happen anymore. Well, the Luciferians, they are pantheistic. They worship many gods, and there's nothing new under the sun. This old age of gods and goddess worship is still the new age religion. It's still part of the same thing. It's not disappeared at all. We've been very blessed that Christian values spread across this world. But you can see where it will end up if people fall away from true biblical Christian values of love and loving one another and loving Jesus and loving your neighbour and do not murder. You know, you can see where the world will go. It's not evolving, is it? It's devolving back into the old age lies, but they're just calling it new. So it can't be good when you look back at the past and see that this is still part of the same Luciferian religion. It can't be going anywhere good, can it? Because look at what used to happen. Do we want that again?
If you go down to the woods today, you'd better not go alone.
So many of Hollywood's most famous actors and actresses able to be so amazingly effective and convincing in their performances.
That guy was so electrifying that it came through the television.
How is it that they can move us to laughter, tears, or anger at the drop of a hat? Are they truly gifted with natural talent, as many suggest?
You see this and you're dazzled by their talent.
Do they possess a creative streak of genius that is unknown to most men? Or unknown to most men, are they in fact possessed? Is it possible that these actors and actresses are possessed by demonic spirits who have a specific agenda to fulfill? Oscar award-winning actor Denzel Washington told 60 Minutes exactly how he brings forth his best performances.
Basically what I did was got on my knees and sort of communicated with the spirits. And when I came out, I was in charge.
Powerful scene.
Powerful scene. I couldn't have acted that. I couldn't have written that down and made a decision to play that.
What, are you gonna smoke that?
Nope, you are.
Hell if I am.
Yeah.
You're Jesus freak. You're Jesus freak.
The one-woman entertainment empire known as Oprah has strong affiliations with the demonic realm. The most familiar face on television says,
"You can not only use your body and physical self. This is how I see acting. I ask my body to be the carrier for the spirits of those who have come before me in a way that is most meaningful to the character. Just become the vehicle for that character."
Calling out for these entities to take her over so that she may become a sparkling puppet, Oprah admits of her work before the camera.
I tried to empty myself and let the spirit inhabit me.
With her global influence, her shows have become a smorgasbord for the New Age agenda.
You know, it's pretty interesting, isn't it, that this place is called Diana's Mirror, when Hollywood is all about self-obsession, self-worship. It's very interesting. You can see the same fruits in Hollywood today, as we walk around this place which is called Nemi, which in Latin means holy wood. Diana and her holy wood. The lake is called Diana's Mirror. So really, when you think about it, Hollywood is just an extension, an artificial plastic version of what is already here. It's just a modern day replica of what is already on the outskirts of Rome. All roads lead to Rome. So really the one in the United States is like a pseudo modern mock-up version of channeling the same thing, the worship and cult of Diana.
That the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worshippeth. And when they heard these things, they were full of wrath, and cried out, saying, Great is Diana of the Ephesians.
I'm making my way up to the town of Nemi itself. Notice the male-female symbolism, sex magic of the gate, right in the centre of the town. Wow, look at the top, the moon goddess. A crescent moon with a crown, so obvious.
Roman is a crazy boy who lives in me, and he says the things that I don't want to say. He was born, just a few months ago. I think he was born out of rage. He was conceived in rage, so he bashes everyone. He threatens to beat people, and he's violent.
That must be nice to have like an ignorant loudmouth who you can just sort of blame every...
He wants to be blamed. I don't want to blame him. I ask him to leave, but he can't. He's here for a reason. People have brought him out. People conjured him up. Now he won't leave.
Oh boy. The foundation of the shrine is clearly the Vatican. The Jesuit Illuminati secret societies, guys. There it is, the sculpture of Diana, the Huntress. Remember also the symbolism we've looked into before with the wild hunt. The European folklore of Europa, the goddess, the wild hunt.
Nimrod was the first one to bring together a coordinated effort of all mankind to come against the truth of the revealed Word of God. Nimrod, the Bible said, was a hunter for souls. My friend, he was a hunter before the Lord, and what he hunted was not deer and elk. He was hunting the souls of men.
And how ultimately it refers to the hunting of Christians, and how Hollywood is being used as propaganda to gear, to prepare the world for that, to prepare the world and to undermine the Bible and anti-Christian media. So this is all linking to the Wild Hunt. And actually the folklore, European folklore of the Wild Hunt, it comes from another dimension. Does that not tell you where the entertainment is coming from? Whose agenda is being pushed through the mainstream media?
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?
Yes, it's a peculiar exhilaration, and of course, the godly instincts in us all, the angelic in us all, because we all have something angelic and something godly, besides everything else, a lot of other negative things, that is quenched, and you find in them a horror of anything what we call sacred and holy or sacrosanct, or the idea of the idea of the sacred, of the awesome.
Beyonce is the hottest artist on the world stage in 2013. She followed up her lip-syncing scandal at President Barack Obama's inauguration with a spellbinding performance at the 2013 Super Bowl. During Beyonce's Super Bowl appearance, the Twitter universe lit up with people claiming that Beyonce was flashing the Illuminati or Devil's Triangle. The concern was so great that mainstream media outlets tried to explain it away as simply a reference to her husband Jay-Z's record company. Of course, this simplistic approach ignored the fact that Jay-Z and Beyonce are aware that the symbol has a layered meaning and occultic or Luciferian connotations. In fact, they are not only aware of this, but as you can see, Beyonce's husband Jay-Z promotes the occult aspect of the Eye of Horus and the triangle through his rock-aware apparel. Sadly, countless young people are wearing the Eye of Horus and have been introduced to the darkest of occult symbology through Jay-Z and his rock-aware empire. Here we see a shot of a ritual of the Order of the Temple of Astarte, a chartered Crowleyan organization which admittedly contacts demons in their rituals using the same symbol that Jay-Z, Beyonce, and so many others are using. Here we also see Satanist Anton LaVey, who wrote the Satanic Bible and started the Church of Satan, using the Eye of Horus or the triangle symbol in his satanic rituals. Here we see Satanist Aleister Crowley, who promoted the sacrifice of innocent children and who signed his name the Beast 666, wearing the Eye of Horus in the triangle, one of the main symbols for the Age of Horus and the coming reign of Antichrist. Crowley's favorite Antichrist maxim was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Do what thou wilt, as opposed to doing God's will, became the backbone of Crowleyanity. Here we see Jay-Z with "Do what thou wilt" emblazoned across one of his shirts. Notice also next to Aleister Crowley is a book with a circle and a pentagram on the front cover. One of the most basic symbols used in the occult and Satanism to contact demonic beings as a sphere of receptivity to Satan and demonic forces, often resulting in demonic possession. Jay-Z, Beyonce's husband, knows what it means to be possessed by spirits, as he admits here, claiming that he is a modern-day Frank Sinatra and that he is possessed by spirits.
I feel like, Sinatra, in my time, modern-day Sinatra. So
you know, I try to live up to that, you know. I get possessed by the spirits. I get possessed by the spirits.
When we understand how the circle and pentagram are used at times in the occult and Satanism and take a closer look at Beyonce's Super Bowl performance, it becomes even more chilling. Near the beginning of her performance, we see Beyonce fall to the ground into what becomes a circle of light. It's interesting that after Beyonce lies down in the circle, we then see appear an inverted pentagram. The inverted pentagram in Satanism often signifies the goat-headed depiction of Satan himself. And here we see Beyonce with the inverted pentagram with the goat-headed Baphomet when she introduced the spirit of Sasha Fierce, who she claimed possessed her. Here we see the goat-headed satanic Baphomet on Beyonce's ring. And here we see at Beyonce's Super Bowl appearance, one of her dancers adorned with an upside-down pentagram worked into her apparel. Beyonce, entering the circle with the inverted pentagram, appears to be her way of signaling that she's allowing the spirit named Sasha Fierce, the entity that she claimed possesses her and channels her during performances, to take control of her body. Beyonce has even worked Sasha Fierce into her wardrobe. The Daily Mail described her Super Bowl outfit as, quote, fierce and sexy, which was fitting for the entity Sasha Fierce. The man behind the design, Ruben Singer, says his creation of Beyonce was inspired by female warrior gods in Norse mythology. Incredibly, you can see what appears to be the goat-headed satanic Baphomet worked into Beyonce's bizarre attire. Later in Beyonce's Super Bowl performance, we see Beyonce represented by the Hindu goddess Kali. Kali is often associated with darkness and death and depicted with the bloody heads on a necklace of her slain. Kali is a fitting image for Sasha Fierce, as she is a counterpart of Shiva, the god of destruction. Beyonce also employs the Gemini twins, seen taking up a huge part of the stage. In Babylonian mythology, the Gemini twins represented, quote, the god of plague and pestilence, who was king of the underworld, end quote. It may be that what Beyonce is depicting in the Gemini symbols, which resemble her, is a spiritual synthesis with Sasha Fierce, which would signify full-blown demonic possession. Beyonce has admitted in the past that she looked forward to the time when her and Sasha Fierce would be indistinguishable. Beyonce has expressed her desire to communicate the vibe of spirit possession in her music. She claims that she even wants a whole video to feel possessed.
I want to be so wild, almost possessed. And I want the whole video to feel possessed. I want the whole video to feel possessed.
Beyonce may have found more than she bargained for and ended up getting possessed by a spirit. Rolling Stone stated in one article on Beyonce, quote, a woman possessed, Beyonce is gripped by a spirit so powerful it even has a name, Sasha, end quote. Beyonce said in an extra interview, quote, I think Sasha Fierce is part of me. That's why the name of the album was I Am Sasha Fierce. She goes on to say, she lives within me.
I think Sasha Fierce is a part of me. That's why the name of the album was I Am Sasha Fierce, because it's all the same. She lives within.
Beyonce claims that she is typically more reserved and cannot sing with as much power, but when this spirit entity possessed her body, it energized her vocal ability and caused her performances to skyrocket.
I'm really kind of shy, and not really shy, but more reserved, and nothing like Sasha. But I guess I wouldn't be very entertaining on the stage, so Sasha comes out, and she's fearless. You know, she can do things that I cannot do when I'm in rehearsal. I mean, I can try, but then it just doesn't happen. I can sing notes and sing strong and do all these things that when I'm just by myself, I can't do. And I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me,
Strangely, Beyonce in the past has depicted herself on stage as picking up a coin with the image of her face on one side and the image of Sasha Fierce on the other. When flipping the coin, if it comes up Sasha Fierce, she then allows the spirit entity of Sasha to take control of her body. Beyonce appears to be possessed by an evil and perverted spirit of harlotry. Apparently, the spirit entity Sasha Fierce leads her into perverse and raunchy sexual behavior that Beyonce would never do if not under Sasha Fierce's diabolical influence. Beyonce has admitted, quote, when I see a video of myself on stage or TV, I'm like, who is that girl? That's not me. I wouldn't dare do that. And I wouldn't like Sasha if I met her off stage, end quote.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hacking the Headlines. I hope you all are doing well out there.
I wanted to cover the latest music video by Kesha called Him. I don't do a whole lot of these Illuminati exposed videos, but sometimes I just see something that gets under my skin so bad that I have to cover it. So this was definitely one of those times. Now, as most of us know, Kesha is one of the most satanic and disturbing musicians in the industry, and I'll go over all of that here in just a minute. But this latest music video comes off of her album Rainbow, which I have mentioned before, and many other people have talked about how the occultists and Satanists love the symbol of the rainbow as a way of mocking God and mocking Christ and mocking his followers, because in Genesis we are told that God actually gave us the rainbow has a promise to never flood the earth again. So they're constantly rubbing that in our faces, how they can sin all the time and seemingly get away with it, at least for now. But this latest music video is just so blasphemous and anti-Christ in nature, but it's just more of the same from Kesha, so it should be no surprise really. But it starts out with her driving through the desert, and the desert is another symbol they love to use for multiple reasons. It has a lot of spiritual significance, but of course we have Moses who wandered the desert for 40 years, and it was in the desert that Jesus was tempted by Satan. So we can see this time and time again in different music videos. We have Britney Spears in the desert on an upside down pyramid. I think this music video was done with the Spice Girls or something. And we have Rihanna in another music video in the desert, of course, doing the one eye symbolism we see so much, representing, of course, the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. And here again we have Taylor Swift, again in the desert. There's so many examples of it, but those are just a few. Just to get into the lyrics here from this music video, and you can see how blasphemous and antichrist it really is, she says, "This is a hymn for the hymnless, kids with no religion. Yeah, we keep on sinning. Yeah, we keep on singing. Flying down the highway, backseat of the Hyundai, pull it out to the front, let it run, we don't valet." I mean, I'm not even gonna get into the stupidity and lack of creativity in those lyrics, but the fact that it says this is a hymn for the hymnless, I mean, of course that's a play on words, like they are hymnless, they are godless. And then it says, kids with no religion, yeah, we keep on sinning, yeah, we keep on singing. This is what Kesha is all about in all of her lyrics, you know, encouraging kids to live a sinful lifestyle that's going to cause them nothing but misery. And I don't want to hear it from people that she's fought back against the Illuminati, because no, she hasn't. If she were to fight back against them, she would tell us about all the sick rituals she's been a part of in order to get where she is, and she would expose these people for what they are. You know, the world is a stage. That was all her playing her part and being the good little puppet that she is. And then the lyrics go on to say, hymn for the hymnless, don't need no forgiveness, 'cause if there's a heaven, don't care if we get in. So saying that we don't need forgiveness, we don't need a redeemer, we don't need Christ, and if there's a heaven, we don't care if we get in. And these people, the spirits especially working behind these people, they know there's a heaven, they know there's a hell, and they know that that's where they're going to end up. So their goal is to drag you right along with them.
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out. Talking about I sold my soul for you. For all you on here that's asking me did I sell my soul, why the f y'all on here if y'all think I sold my soul? Y'all coming right with me, you dummies.
And that is exactly right. You don't get put in that type of position without selling your soul first, and you will be going right along with them unless you see what's going on here. So people like Kesha and Lil Ucifer and all these other celebrities, they're only put there because they've already signed their name in blood, and they have turned their back on God, and their only goal is to get you to do the same. And that's why they make songs like Hymnless. So just to move on to the next part of the music video, there's just suddenly a random guy in a bathtub, as usual. I mean, I don't know how many times me and others have to point out the symbol of the bathtub and how it's used time and time again as a way to represent the satanic baptism these people go through. through. I mean, just take a look at this. We have Katy Perry in a bathtub, Taylor Swift in her latest music video in a bathtub. Also with the diamonds, we see that a lot, or the jewelry. We have Eminem in a bathtub, not only once, but twice, and once in a bloodbath, nonetheless, for his song 3 a.m. We have Tina Fey in a bathtub with the Masonic checkerboard tiles that, of course, represent the esoteric belief of has above, so below, and you can do good, you can do bad, it all balances out. Then we have a very famous picture of Tupac. I know it's a little graphic, but of him in a bathtub with a bunch of jewelry. And then we have Nicki Minaj in one of her music videos in a bathtub. Drake in a bathtub. Let's see here, Machine Gun Kelly in a bathtub. And then we have the milk bath, which is representative of the same thing, but even more significant because they show the milk, which represents the bodily fluids, among other things, that these sick people use to baptize themselves in. So here we have Fergie in a milk bath in her music video MILFs. We have Rihanna in the milk bath. And then this was a very famous picture taken by Annie Leibovitz, satanic Hollywood photographer, of Whoopi Goldberg in a milk bath. So you can really start to see the pattern there. And then after the bathtub scene, the video goes on to show this very masculine woman while Kesha is singing in the background. This is a hymn, hymn, hymn. This is a hymn, hymn, hymn. And this is a great example of neuro-linguistic programming, and that's something they use to slowly condition the masses into accepting these perverted agendas. And I'm not saying perverted to be mean, but when you take a woman and you try to make it into something else, it's perverting its original purpose. So that's what transgenderism does, and it's no coincidence that Satanists worship a transgender goat, or otherwise known as the Baphomet, which is represented through the pentagram, which most people are very familiar with that symbol. That represents a transgender goat. So it's no coincidence we suddenly see the transgender agenda being pushed through like crazy. And this is just one of the subtle ways they do it. And then just to get into the lyrics a little bit more, after that it says, after all we've been through, no, we won't stand and salute. She's saying, no, we won't stand and salute to God. We won't worship God. We won't bow down to God. We reject God. And then at the end it says, this is just the way we're made. You know what I mean. You on the team. So just like little Lucifer was saying, that you're on the team, whether you know it or not. If you're following these type of agendas and these type of musicians and Illuminati puppets, if you're eating up what they're feeding you, you're on the team. You've chosen Satan. And that's what she's saying here, just like that rapper Lil Lucifer was saying. And then the next part of the video shows a falling star kind of illuminating the sky and illuminating everyone. And that is because Lucifer is commonly referred to in the Bible as a star, or the morning star. So here we have, it says, how you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. So in this Kesha video, it's showing the falling star, or Satan falling down from heaven. Just like it also says in Revelation 12:4, his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them down to earth. That is referring to the 33% of the fallen angels who chose Lucifer over God, and they were cast down to earth because of it. And that's what that shooting star in Kesha's video represents. And then again with the illumination, we see a car pulling up, illuminating a crowd of people. That's why we constantly see the rays around the all-seeing eye. It's even on the back of our dollar bill. This represents the Gnostic or the gnosis, the knowledge that these people think they get when they start worshiping Lucifer, and they get to eat of the tree of good and evil, just like Eve did in the garden. And that's what this illumination that we see again and again and again in music videos, that's what it means. And that's why they're called the Illuminati, because they think they're illuminated by Lucifer's light or his knowledge. And then at the end of the music video, we have the UFO propaganda brainwash programming that we see everywhere these days. And that is because they are preparing people to accept the alien deception, and aliens are nothing more than demons in disguise. But I made another video about that I go into much more detail about, called The Great Deception of the End Days Has Arrived. So I will be leaving that linked up in the description. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. But yeah, at this point of the music video, it's just Kesha and a bunch of other people standing under a giant UFO while being illuminated by its light. And they're all kind of standing around worshiping it, just like they plan to do soon when they give demons the physical form they've wanted for so long, and they're just going to call them aliens, and people won't even question it because of all the programming they've had for years and years and years to accept these alien things, which are really demons in disguise, like I said before. And the car is getting like sucked up into it, and you can see the license plate on the car. It says K15NAL13N, which I thought kind of looked like K is an alien or Kesha is an alien. So again, with the alien propaganda, the lion, the lie is right there in the middle of the word. But I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what Kesha is. I know a lot of people will say it's a male to female transgender, and I don't know about that, but I see their point. But I do know it should probably lay off the plastic surgery because it's starting to look almost non-human at this point. But that's what we see a lot of these celebrities go through, and that's really neither here nor there. But just to show you a few more examples of how satanic this thing really is, I mean, she has a song called Cannibal, and in a Glamour magazine interview, she said that she eats men, that she has sex with them and then she eats them. She also said in the same interview that she has collected teeth from her fans and has made it into a bra and headdresses and earrings and necklaces. So that's obviously some kind of weird satanic ceremony there, or ritual. She also has a song called Dancing with the Devil, and in that song the lyrics go, I keep on dancing with the devil, I sold my soul to death and glow, there ain't no turning back, I keep on dancing with the devil. So this is her telling you who she is and what she's about, who she worships, and that is part of the satanic law, if you will. They have to tell you to your face what they're about and who they work for, and then it's your choice to either accept it or reject it. But yeah, then we have her doing the all-seeing eye again and again. Of course, we see that with almost every one of these Illuminati puppets. She wears all-seeing eye jewelry. I mean, she dances on stage with giant pyramids and all-seeing eyes. And then there was a video of her drinking her own urine, which is a very common satanic ritual. For those of you who don't know, they will drink their own bodily fluids. Has a rite of passage or a part of a ritual to summon demons. And then we have her on stage multiple times, not once but twice that I could find, her pretending to drink blood out of a human heart, or at least she says it's pretend, but you can see her here drinking it and she's just covered in blood on stage. Just really gross and disturbing stuff. So yeah, I mean, she's definitely not hiding who she is, and this latest song is just more of the same from her, more blasphemy, more antichrist lyrics, you know, more indoctrinating people to turn their back on God and to live the do what thou wilt mindset. So it's really no surprise with any of it, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below.
So there's been a lot of talk recently about the death of Anthony Bourdain. Many people have been looking into this and finding a lot of fantastic information. I say fantastic because once again it proves this connection with the entertainment industry and Satanism, the occult, you may say the Illuminati. So this story just came out over the last week. Darren Aronofsky reflects on filming Death Ritual with Anthony Bourdain for Parts Unknown finale. Now this was filmed just weeks before Anthony Bourdain was found dead. So one of my favorite quotes comes from Confucius, and he says, "This world is not ruled by rules nor laws, but by signs and symbols." And keeping that in mind, if you want to find satanic symbolism around Asia Argento, which was Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, there is tons and tons of images to find. So I'm not going to go through and show all the images. Once again, you can find this for yourself. I only needed a few. When we see these images, we see these people putting out the same symbolism over and over again. There's only one conclusion you can draw. They are a part of that satanic system. They've either sold out to it or they were sold into it. And there's also the idea that as human beings, we could be used as puppets for the spirits. If you don't have the protection of the Holy Spirit, you can be used by these wicked forces. And many times you don't even realize you're being used. Dario Argento is the father of Asia Argento. And Dario is a well-known Italian filmmaker, producer, and director. So we judge a tree by its fruit. And in doing so, in looking at the catalog of Dario Argento's work, we find common themes: Satanism and witchcraft. For the most part, every one of his films have to do with one of these subjects. You can go do any kind of an image search, just put in Dario Argento or films of Dario Argento, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's also interesting that all of the symbolism, the satanic and Illuminati style symbolism that we discuss here on the channel and other people out there discuss as well, can be found in these films. Somewhere around 40 years ago, Dario Argento made this film Suspiria. And again, this film is chock full of satanic and Illuminati symbolism. We even see here the red, black, and white, the colors of the satanic church. You also have the checkerboard floor. You have the black and the white, the duality, as above, so below. So here's another recent story that just came out. Asia Argento dons denim shorts that say "Epic Loser" before stripping off and flipping the bird as she shares a bizarre mix of messages to Instagram in the aftermath of boyfriend Anthony Bourdain's suicide. This is one of the posts she put up. She's wearing the shorts, as they said, "Epic Loser," but she also put the message on top there, "F you all." So here's another one of the images that she recently put up, and of course you see her flashing the devil horns and underneath saying, "I love you." So I've covered this a lot throughout the years. Many people try to say the devil horns mean "I love you." So that hand sign for "I love you" was originally introduced to us by Helen Keller. I find it a very weak veil for these people to try to cover up what their real intention is. And I've seen this same argument for years. We'll see these celebrities who we know have sold out to the satanic system flashing the horns, and you'll always see people trying to defend them, saying, "Oh, no, they're just saying I love you." This is just another part of that grand deception. So she's also a singer and a musician. And one of the most recent posts she put up was of her with artist and singer Nicola Sirkis. So in doing an image search for Nicola Sirkis, of course we find him doing the same symbolism that we see time and time again. Even here we see him doing the famous shh, the hush sign, the keep the secret sign. Another very common symbol we see with a lot of these so-called Illuminati artists. And of course, right here he is again, but we see him doing the horns, flashing the horn sign, right? I guess that means "I love you." And of course we find him draped in the rainbow flag. The rainbow itself as a symbol was a promise from God originally. So of course this beast system takes all of these symbols and these ideas that had an innocent origin, and they pervert it, they distort it. Again, this is that "as above, so below." It's flipping everything around. It's a mockery to God. So once again, we follow the symbols, we look below the surface, and this is what we find. These Satanists can no longer hide in the shadows. These witches can no longer hide in the shadows. Everything's coming out.
This demonic entity is more than some alter ego, but a spirit that possesses Beyonce's body. In fact, Beyonce seems to black out and be unconscious of her body when this evil spirit takes control. She describes it this way, quote, "I have out-of-body experiences. If I cut my leg, if I fall, I don't even feel it. I'm so fearless. I'm not aware of my face or my body," end quote. Beyonce says, quote, "It's like a blackout. When I'm on stage, I don't know what the blank happens. I am gone," end quote. She has said recently, quote, "I'm more powerful than my mind can even digest and understand," end quote. Notice in Beyonce's Super Bowl appearance that as she's emerging from the circle with the inverted pentagram, her face becomes distorted, as though she has now given her body over to the spirit she identified elsewhere as Sasha Fierce. Here we see that the normally sweet-appearing Beyonce now looks like a different person, more like a man than a woman. Throughout the rest of her Super Bowl performance, Sasha Fierce's mean man face will appear as much as Beyonce's. Beyonce has admitted that this spirit is not a friendly spirit, hence the name Fierce. Of course, God's Word, the Bible, reveals that when it comes to fallen angels, only demonic entities possess human beings. From the time she enters the circle with the pentagram, Beyonce's face morphs repeatedly into a demonic and evil sneer. So horrific were many of the faces that Beyonce manifested that her publicists told BuzzFeed that they wanted them to remove pictures that they considered unflattering to Beyonce, some of which you are seeing here. Satan's desire has always been to be worshipped in place of God the Creator. In Isaiah chapter 14, we read that Satan wanted to be like the Most High God and wanted to exalt his throne above the stars of God. In Matthew chapter 4, Satan asked Jesus to bow down and worship him. Jesus responded and said, "Get behind me, Satan. It is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God and serve him only." Sadly, this is ultimately what Satan and the demonic realm want. Here we see Beyonce, or Sasha Fierce, give the creepy request of asking the crowd to reach out to her so she could feel their energy.
Everybody put your hands towards me. Everybody, I want to feel your energy. Wave your hands with me, come on.
Tragically, the crowd is clueless as to who they are praising. May God help us to wake up to the fact that His Word declares that we are not wrestling against mere flesh and blood, but against Satan and the demonic spirit hierarchy that are hell-bent on bringing as many people to the lake of fire with them as they can.
Yes, it's a peculiar exhilaration, and of course, the godly instincts in us all, the angelic in us all, because we all have something angelic and something godly, besides everything else, a lot of other negative things, that is quenched, and you find in them a horror of anything what we call sacred and holy, or sacrosanct. Or the idea of the idea of the sacred, of the awesome.
That's how I got introduced to the music industry. Because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
I think he was born out of rage. He was conceived in rage. So he bashes everyone. He threatens to beat people.
I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me.
That shh sign, or that secret sign, is one among many. And no, it's not just a coincidence. So as I was saying, some people are born into this. There are generations upon generations of families that have sold themselves out to Satan. The curse carries from generation to generation. So future generations are literally born into this satanic system, born into the witchcraft, born into the Illuminati. Aronofsky is a filmmaker and a writer. He's made several movies, Black Swan, The Fountain. Right here he was working on Noah. So if you've seen Noah and you were trying to figure out what was going on, it helps if you understand a bit about Gnosticism. Noah was a very Gnostic film. It was also very blasphemous. He also made the movie Mother, which came out about a year ago, and this film too was highly blasphemous. There's something else very interesting about this, though. Darren Aronofsky is dating Jennifer Lawrence. Or at least he was at the time of the filming of Mother. Jennifer Lawrence went out and was doing press. She's doing different talk shows and whatnot for the film. And I did a video on Mother about a year ago, and I showed images of her on the Jimmy Fallon show wearing earrings that were upside down crosses. It's also very interesting to note that that video just a few months ago was blocked worldwide from YouTube. I still haven't put it up on the website, but I will. But the point is, I don't think they wanted that imagery out there. Because again, it shows what we're dealing with. Witches, sorcerers, Satanists, occultists. These are the people who entertain you. That being said, it turns out I got lucky. I actually found a really solid image from that interview, and you can see clearly right there hanging from her ear an upside down cross. Once again, it blows my mind. This is right in front of people's faces. Millions and millions of Americans watch this show every night. And how bold it was really for her just to put these on and get out there in front of, again, millions and millions of people. But so few people see. Those who do their work in the darkness think they're safe, but we're living at a time where everything is being exposed. Before the end comes, all of this darkness is going to come out into the light. And they will scurry like cockroaches. We got a glimpse into the Hollywood witches from Twitter. This is Amber Tamblyn, an actress, says, "Witches, please prepare the strongest protection spell you have for our sister Asia Argento today. Please lift her up with all the love and light your conjuring is capable of casting." So a few more things about Amber Tamblyn. She's married to comedian David Cross. David Cross is a very outspoken atheist. So isn't that interesting? We see an atheist married to a witch. But is he really an atheist? This goes back to that connection between atheism and Satanism, because there is a solid connection there. I feel a lot of time it's easier for some of these people to just say, "Hey, I'm an atheist," as opposed to, "Hey, I worship the devil." But that's just me. There's something else I want to show you about Amber Tamblyn I found very interesting. So here's a bit of a head scratcher. So we have Amber Tamblyn talking about the witches, with her connection to the Hollywood witch coven. And they recently had a child, her and David Cross. So isn't it interesting that she actually had a letter sent to her about the birth of her new child from none other than Hillary Clinton? It says, "Happy birthday. Your birth has been a source of great joy for your parents, Amber and David, and your vast community of admirers and champions. I send my best wishes to you for a lifetime of amazing accomplishments and adventures full of love, learning, and friendship. With warm regards, I am." And then it's "Sincerely yours, Hillary Clinton." But of course there's the "I am." WikiLeaks exposed a lot about Hillary Clinton. You can do a little bit of research on Clinton, see her connection to the occult. I also find this a very interesting connection. Once again, being that Amber Tamblyn is connected with the Hollywood witches. And now we have Hillary Clinton, of all people, writing her a letter, a personal letter, about her newborn child. It's also interesting how she wrote "with warm regards," comma, and then "I am." I am, many of you will know, is considered the name of God in the Bible. So here's a classic example of what I'm talking about. A lot of times these celebrities say they're agnostic or they're atheist, but we find them pushing out a lot of the satanic symbolism, satanic ideas, Illuminati symbolism, what have you. If you look at the bottom right there, this is where Will Ferrell states that he's an atheist. I found this in a lot of other sources as well. Most of you watching my videos are well aware of Marina Abramovic, major Hollywood witch. There's plenty of connections between her and Hillary Clinton. Going back to that, a lot of WikiLeaks released some of this. And she's really connected to a lot of celebrities and politicians. She's also well known for performing a lot of really bizarre rituals, spirit cooking. So it's interesting that we find Will Ferrell at one of these events. The Atheist. Now here's an image of Will Ferrell from a show that he produces called The Chris Gethard Show. And this is him performing a mock Illuminati ritual or a mock satanic ritual on stage. But once again, he's an atheist, right? He doesn't believe in this kind of stuff. As I said earlier, I do feel this is one of two things typically. One is that it's easier to hide behind atheism for a lot of these Hollywood Satanists. And the other side is there really are people out there, I believe, that are full-on atheist, agnostic, don't believe in any of this stuff. They think it's ridiculous. At the same time, they don't even realize that they are being used as little puppets. The spirits can use you as a puppet if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit. So speaking of that, I want you to check out this next clip. This is from an actual Satanist, and it very much details everything I'm trying to explain here.
We don't believe in Satan as, a deity or a god or a supernatural being. We believe in a metaphorical literary construct of Satan. So he's a symbol for rebellion, a symbol for human nature. So the idea that we don't have a supernatural feature to our faith doesn't mean that we are any less a real religion. Nor does it mean that we should not have the same privileges granted to us as a faith. It's controversial, and there's no way around it. I mean, that's the idea of Satanism. It has always been it's been constructed to be controversial. I mean, people who have been out-groups in society who have challenged, the rule of authority have often been labeled satanic in history. We hope that by performing a same-sex marriage, and then if it's not accepted or recognized by the state, that gives us an opportunity to challenge that based on religious grounds. With the women's rights campaign and everything we just did with, the informed consent laws, we received so many emails from women specifically who identify as Christian. We said, I never thought I would say this, but your faith and what you're doing is really amazing, and I want to stand with you because it's one area in my belief system that I feel is failing me. We're here to educate and be involved in our community, and not to create hysteria.
Part of what I do with my work here on YouTube is I research a lot. And I do my show KJ's What Happened once a week typically, and that's where I show you a lot of what I find. I also find a lot of common themes. I find a lot of stories that match up with each other, and one thing I've seen a rise in over the last 2 to 3 years has been satanic crime, occult crimes, crimes connected to witchcraft. I want to show you another clip here in a second. It was really hard for me to find a news clip of the people actually talking about the witch connection to this particular story. Westlake businessman killed by deputy told cops he was being chased by 3 witches.
Cell phone video shows the moments before the shooting along I-90 around 7:30 Thursday night. A Cuyahoga County Sheriff's deputy repeatedly using his taser on 33-year-old Brett Luengo, who refuses to comply with commands. Witnesses say it started when Luengo crashed into a wall near West Boulevard. Good Samaritans who stopped to help say he started attacking them.
I was one of the first people here, and I just saw a guy sitting on the side of the road. His head was gushing blood. As soon as the cop got close enough, the guy grabbed for his gun.
The video shows Luengo charging at and punching the deputy, who fatally shot him in the chest.
I was shocked. I was just shocked. I couldn't believe it was him.
Westlake Mayor Dennis Cloth officiated Luengo's wedding and saw him last week. He says Luengo was active in the community, establishing a sister city for Westlake, traveling with city leaders to Ireland. Luengo even planted a flower bed outside City Hall.
It's very out of character. I mean, he was very much involved in the community, and he always gave back to the community. Very smart, intelligent person. It just really doesn't make sense.
Luengo served as CEO of his family's Westlake construction firm, Constructability. The family releasing a statement thanking the Good Samaritans and first responders Thursday, saying his behavior was completely out of character for Brett, and the family has as many questions as everyone else. This incident by no means defines the way in which Brett lived his life, which has sadly come to an untimely end.
He was just a great guy, and it's a terrible loss, not only for the family, but for this community of Westlake and everybody who knew him.
With an investigation now underway, Cuyahoga County officials are commending the actions of the sergeant who's been with the department nearly 30 years.
Our safety officers do not come into service to take lives, but to save them. And I know our deputy responded appropriately.
So before I talk about these films that I wanted to talk about, I just want to cover a few more things. These really are clear examples of just how the beast system is manifesting more and more before our very eyes. Most of us understand that the Vatican, the Pope, and that whole system is a major part of this beast system. So I've noticed this trend I'm going to show you a couple examples of. But right here, Vatican invited Katy Perry to talk about transcendental meditation. So if you didn't already know, Katy Perry is one of these celebrities that is fully sold out to the satanic system, and she's used constantly. We judge trees by their fruit. And this person's fruit is foul, not only blatantly pushing Satanism and satanic ideas, but she also promotes perversion and extreme sexuality to children. So don't we find this interesting that this particular performer, who is completely sold out to the satanic system, gets to meet with the Pope, gets to go to the Vatican. And yet here's another classic example. This is Lady Gaga with, dare I say, one of the most popular witches in the Hollywood system, even the political system, Marina Abramovic. If you're not familiar with Lady Gaga and all of her Illuminati symbolism and satanic public rituals she's done on stage for years now, you should look into that and then ask yourself, how is it that this particular performer gets to have an audience with 5 of our presidents? So we can see through these satanic performers alone, these satanic sellouts, this connection with the Vatican, now this connection with the presidents. I'm hoping this picture is becoming a lot more clear to you now. And speaking of the witches in Hollywood, speaking of familial bonds being born into this kind of a system, it made me think about Misha Barton, the actress. So here's a few images we find on Misha Barton, and once again we have the all-seeing eye symbolism there. This is a young lady that was caught up in that satanic system. The photographer that took these pictures is named Tyler Shields, and I found some interesting things about him as well. So he was also the director of one of Marilyn Manson's videos. It was a video that was anti-Trump. He's another one of these famous photographers that once you start looking into his body of work, you'll find tons of this, again, Illuminati satanic symbolism. And here's just another example, of course, the red, black, and white, the colors of the Satanic Church, checkerboard floor, back to the Masonic orders. And it also turns out that he's really good friends with Kathy Griffin, the actress Kathy Griffin. Some call her a comedian. And that's right, he's also the photographer responsible for this now infamous picture. So back to Misha Barton, some of you may remember about a year ago or so she had a bit of a breakdown in her backyard. One of her neighbors filmed this. I know a lot of people out there were saying she was having some kind of an MK Ultra breakdown. Well, perhaps that's true. A lot of this is speculation. But one thing a lot of people missed, I think, on this is during this, quote, breakdown she was having, she kept talking about her mother being a witch. So again, we find this connection with the witches and the Hollywood and the entertainment industry in general. And if her mother is really, in fact, a witch, then this is just another example of how people are born into this through family bloodlines. That being said, let's take a look at this clip here real quick.
She was the OC's it girl.
Marissa Cooper.
As 16-year-old Marissa Cooper, Misha Barton was the envy of teenagers everywhere. But these images obtained by TMZ last week paint a very different picture. Barton can be seen hanging over her backyard fence in Hollywood wearing just a dress shirt and tie. Witnesses saying she was rambling about her mom being a witch and the world shattering.
So as always, there's these common themes that pop up with these movies and these TV shows. One theme I'm seeing time and time again here lately are these movies that have to do with cults and covens worshiping ancient gods. So this particular example is a film called The Endless that recently came out. On a side note, I thought this was a fantastic film, because they do something that a lot of these movies don't do whenever they're dealing with witches and covens and ancient gods. Most of these movies and TV shows give all the power to the devil, all the power to the witches, all the power to evil. It's like there's nothing can stop it, right? And that seems to be the prevailing message in a lot of these films and TV shows. And I know that's a part of the predictive programming as well. It's also a way to spread fear, to cause people to be afraid of everything, right? But nonetheless, The Endless, very interesting movie, a really good movie, I thought, but also deals with that very subject. In the movie The Endless, you never really get to see the creature, but you do get to see a drawing of the creature. And as you can see right here, once again, we have the horned figure, the horned beast, the ancient, quote, god. Another recent film that deals with this kind of subject matter is a movie called The Ritual. Now, once again, purely from a writing perspective, a filming perspective, overall story, I thought this film was fantastic. However, on the other side, through our spiritual eyes, we see the message once again. These cults, these covens, welcoming ancient gods, worshipping ancient gods. And it's very interesting that all of these gods, these ancient gods I find in these films, are all horned beasts. There's a deep and rich history of these horned beasts, these horned creatures. But as I've said before, the devil goes by many names, but at the end of the day, it's still the devil. I'll show you another example. Here's another recent film, just came out a few weeks back, called Hereditary. Some of you may find this boring. It's a real slow burn kind of a film, but that third act really raises the chill factor. I'll say that. It's a very creepy film. But this is another one of those films that deal with this subject we're talking about hereditary Satanism, hereditary occultism, hereditary witchcraft. This film, too, is all about a satanic coven of witches who are trying to find a body for a demonic spirit that they worship. And this particular ancient god or ancient demon that they worship is named Paimon, King Paimon. And as you can see here, once again, we have the horns, the horned figure. As I said, the devil comes in many forms. The devil goes by many names, but at the end of the day, it's still the devil. So here's a film I really want to dig into. I'm going to show you some of the symbolism from this film. It's called The Domestics. So again, many of you that follow the kind of work I do or have followed me for a while, you get a pretty good idea of what I'm all about. Many of you know that I worked in Hollywood many years ago. I went to film school. I was always a writer, even as a young guy. And typically I would write horror and science fiction and suspense, things like that. But then many years ago, when I woke up to this kind of symbolism, I woke up to what's really going on, it really changed my perspective, and I went through about a year or two there where I didn't want to watch hardly anything. And as time went on, that changed. Because I realized, how can I stay away from this kind of stuff when this is where all the information is, the kind of things that I pick up on, in quote, entertainment. So I got back into it, and I still watch some of these films, and that's where I create a lot of my videos. And there's a side of me that can appreciate these movies for just what they are, action, adventure, whatever. And then there's the spiritual side, where I'm seeing through my spiritual eyes, and I can see the nasty agendas, the programming that's taking place in a lot of these movies. And there's tons of programming that's been taking place over the last several years that I believe is preparing us for truly the end of America. And we're talking end of days type stuff here. When I see these kinds of films, these post-apocalyptic films, I always picture it in my mind as what I've seen in the Bible. There will be people in this world that refuse to take the mark of the beast, and those people will be hunted. Though on one side I really enjoyed the film. I mean, I like these kinds of movies. I like these survival type movies. So on that side I liked it, but on the other side, this is one of the darkest, most nefarious films I've seen in a really long time. And the programming is strong with this one. So there's really not much waiting around with this movie. It gets dark really, really fast. And it covers a very common New World Order theme, and that's depopulation. And the way they explain it in this movie is that it was the US government turning on its own citizens. You can see right here they launched all these massive bombers that were just laying out black chemtrails all over the people and killing them. Now, as I said, this is a part of the New World Order agenda. You can go to the Georgia Guidestones, which are essentially the 10 Commandments of the New World Order. You'll find that one of the tenets there is to maintain humanity under 500 million, in perpetual balance with nature. And the more you look into the Georgia Guidestones, you realize it's pagan connections to witchcraft itself, so once again we have the witches. So in the movie, after the government does this, the people that are left in America, they start dividing off into different groups. It's reminded me a lot of the movie The Warriors from John Carpenter from many years ago, if you've ever seen that. It's very similar. There's different tribes, basically, that exist. And as I said, this film is filled with Illuminati and occult symbolism, so of course right here, we go back to the horned gods again, right? And that connection to the devil itself, or the New World Order, or the beast system. And again, we have the horns. We see it all throughout the film. This part was really interesting, very symbolic. This is one of the lead characters, and she winds up putting on this jacket. Now, it's interesting the way this was filmed, because she puts the jacket on. It shows her from behind here. She puts the jacket on, and then she just stands there, and the camera hangs on it for, a little bit longer than normally it would. And when I see that kind of things, and when I see these kinds of things in movies and TV shows, I know that they want us to see this. So of course you have the Korean angle. We think of North Korea, World War III, but you've got the dragon. So when we're looking into the language of symbols, we always need confirmations, and the fact that this film is filled with these satanic and Illuminati symbols, then we can easily draw the conclusion that this right here means something more, connected back to that beast system and all of its symbols. The dragon, the beast. This reminds me of the verse in the Bible about the woman and the beast. Here's another part, very interesting. She's going through some records. Her and her husband found a kind of a safe house to stay in. He went through and was leaving her little notes before she woke up, and here's one he left her that he had found one of her favorite albums, and of course you can see the Baphomet right there on the cover. Here's one of the symbols of one of the gangs out there. Just thought it was interesting. You've got the beheading. It makes me think, of course, of the beheading of the Christians. Also has a pentagram on the axe. Speaking of the Christians, they have kind of a Christian group, very much a mockery of true Christianity or God or Christ, and they call themselves the Sheets. You also can notice right there that podium on the right hand side, that's a massive sun symbol right there as well, and that's not by accident. And here's another picture of that mural, and as you can see, it's mocking the rapture, mocking the Holy Ghost. Again, right here, this is a mockery of the Holy Ghost and of Christ. Here's a scene where the husband and wife were captured by a gang and they were forced to have to shoot at each other, and of course in the background we have the horns, or the devil watching. And this part's really interesting. Sometimes they get really creative with these symbols. Of course that's kind of a representation of America, and there's the dragon on the front. But just a little later they blow that truck up and it flips over upside down, and now all those stars become pentagrams. So that concludes what I wanted to share with you guys. I've been saying it for years, but we're living in really amazing times. 10 years ago, when people were talking about this kind of stuff, immediately we were called all kinds of names. Laughed at, mocked, ridiculed. Now, 10 years later, this is mainstream. This is normal now. In fact, it's become so normal, we've become so entrenched with this beast system, with these ideas, with these symbols, that most people don't even see it anymore. But it's important that we see it, and that we understand what it is, and see it for what it is, and understand that we We are the escape artists, and you can only escape this beast system through your connection to our Heavenly Father, through strength in Christ. So I'll leave you with that for now. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing your comments below. So take care of yourselves until next time, alright? I'll talk to you a little later.
So now that you know a bit about the Emmys, let's talk about the most celebrated, renowned, and respected night in Hollywood, which is the Oscars. It is show business' biggest night, guys. It is where the world recognizes the merits of the most talented artists and honors them with a golden idol. Typically, over 40 million people tune in annually to this ritual, and most people get really caught up in the glitz and glamour of it all and don't even realize that what they're actually participating in. The most prominent actors in this whole industry get golden trophies or idols for their achievements in movie making. And what's fascinating about the design of the Oscar statue is that it is an Art Deco version of the ancient Egyptian god called Ptah. In Egypt, there were two major gods in charge of picture making, craftsmen, and artists. And unbelievably, one of them was Ptah. The ancient scribes and sculptors who created the best sculptures and pictures of the temples were granted a statue of the god Ptah from the pharaoh himself. This is crazy, guys. This ritual would take place at the capital, at the temple of Ptah. And likewise, Hollywood's award ceremony was held in a temple called the Shrine Auditorium from 1947 to 2000 and is now currently held at the Kodak Theater, which represents the temple. The term Oscar also dates back to the Egyptian god Osiris, and Osiris ruled over the underworld in the constellation Orion. According to pyramid text, the pharaoh's soul would ascend into Orion to be reborn as a star and to live for an eternity. But there was one significant catch. The pharaoh's soul would have to transform into a spirit to reach Osiris. And once the spirit reached the Osiris, it was then immortalized and remembered forever. And I find this unbelievably fascinating and parallel that a person has to become an actor, which is transforming your spirit into another in essence, to win an Oscar. These stars are then immortalized by placing their names in a stone star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And just like the pharaoh was worshipped as a god who became a star, our modern culture is doing the same thing and has adopted the same practice by worshipping those who become movie stars. Brothers and sisters, the Webster Dictionary definition for worship is an extravagant respect or admiration for or devotion to an object of esteem. And isn't that exactly what the masses are doing to these famous celebrities? Guys, the Bible is very clear and adamant about whom deserves our worship. And Matthew 4:10 states, "Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve." Beware of idolatry, guys, beware of it. Deuteronomy 4 even tells us, Now the devil has not changed his ways at all. He only changed his tactics. What worked in the ancient world to get people to worship the stars has now taken a modern form, but is still considered star worship. Even those in the industry are clearly aware of this worship connection. For example, guys, at the 2006 Emmys Award, Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart were introducing the award for the best reality show when all of a sudden Stephen Colbert out of nowhere blurts out,
"Good evening, godless sodomites." I'm bringing the truth, John. We're in Hollywood, the belly of the beast.
We're here to honor achievement in that category.
By giving you a golden idol to worship. Kneel before your God, Babylon!
and he did this as if to joke about how people can now worship the reality stars, just as the film actors are worshipped. Now, brothers and sisters, please don't be seduced into watching the world's worship ceremony. But if you guys do, watch it with an open and spiritual mind and eyes, so you can decode what is truly going on. The only one, again, who deserves our worship is the God of heaven and Him alone. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and He should be the one reigning over our lives. Guys, I want to mention that Babylon was an ancient pagan empire prominent in biblical prophetic works as an enemy of God's people due to their idolatry and sins. And Hollywood is kind of no different. I'm not exactly saying that Hollywood is Babylon, but Hollywood is functioning as the propaganda arm of the Antichrist media establishment, which is intent on re-engineering our society into its alchemical opposite. And this is unleashing destructive forces on our culture, and this is leading to the death of our spirituality, guys. This is why stories and narratives continue to emerge of all these Hollywood scandals, sex and murder rituals, and occult crimes, with no puzzle pieces ever being put together. From its beginning, Hollywood has been an empire of tragedies, full of lost lives, drugs, and real-life drama. But this lifestyle is nothing new to Hollywood. The stage, in fact, has long been the site of tragedy and something much darker, much more sinister. It's a part of ritual invocation. And this all the way goes back to the ancient Greeks and Romans. For Greece and Rome, the stage was sacred, where the dramatic interactions of the gods were actually a form of magical invocation. The actors donned the costumes of the gods, with the playwright scripting the narrative to indoctrinate all the masses into the appropriate morals of state. Guys, Hollywood is about conditioning the state of mind, and it's all about the control of the mind of an individual rather than innocent entertainment. I just want us to be more aware of what is truly going on behind the scenes of the entertainment industry and its evils. A lot of the mainstream entertainment includes predictive programming, satanic rituals, and just programming in general, so we can react how the elites tell us to through all of these movies. This is all just programming for us to accept the Antichrist systems, my brothers and sisters. We must stay aware and very vigilant of the great deception that is upon us. We must always watch out for all of these evils, and we have to question everything.
A symbol is anything that is agreed upon to designate something else. The advantage of symbols is that they may communicate complex concepts while being simple in and of themselves. Most symbols are simple drawings that consist of a few pen strokes, while other symbols are objects or actions. The diamond on a wedding ring, for instance, is a symbol. Imagine all the things that can be inferred about a husband who gives his wife a wedding ring mounted with a piece of glass or a random pebble instead of a diamond. An apple is just a fruit, and yet has been commonly associated with education, wisdom, and teachers. A wink is an action, but also a symbol. It is often used to communicate sexual interest, or to convey a hint. The symbol, whether it's a drawing, action, or object, often conveys a message far more complex than the symbol itself. The foundation of all symbols is agreement. When a symbol is repeatedly used in the same context, agreement regarding that symbol's meaning is formed. As time progresses, the symbol's meaning solidifies. If symbols are used randomly, with constantly changing meanings and associations, they fail to be symbols at all. After all, what good is a symbol that means something different each and every time you see it? Illuminati symbolism, used in popular culture such as movies, novels, and TV shows, isn't used randomly either. Believing that all-seeing eyes, pyramids, and suns are inserted into random places in a movie is an easy mistake to make. But let's think about that. Let me take you to a backward universe where the meaning of symbols is arbitrary and random. A world where hospital signs lead to fire stations and elementary schools. A world where the play and pause symbols have no bearing on what the buttons actually do. A world where radiation signs, biohazard symbols, don't walk signs, and dollar signs are placed randomly throughout the city and used interchangeably. You get the idea. If used randomly and without repeating context, the symbol fails to be a symbol at all. We don't use symbols randomly. We can't afford to, and neither can the Illuminati. The Illuminati is more dependent on symbols than most, and the reason is that it allows for secure communication no matter where the messages are located. As long as the masses are kept outside of that symbol's agreed upon meaning, any message can be hidden in plain sight. And, as stated earlier, not all symbols are drawings. This is so important to remember as we move forward.
When you go shopping, watch TV, read a magazine, or walk through the city, how well do you pay attention to the assault of logos that invade your space? Have you noticed the same symbols that show up in thousands of logos? Or have you fallen into a media-induced slumber, accustomed to the assault? Humanity has been conditioned by symbolism, and today we are bombarded by logos. The average American is exposed to 600 commercial messages each day. Some symbols and messages we recognize, and some we don't. And what we don't understand can be used against us. And don't think that it stops there. Religious organizations, governments, astrologists, secret societies, non-profits, and health organizations clearly understand the effectiveness of symbolism to communicate a message. Political campaigns are using subliminals in their ad campaigns. The entertainment and gaming industries know that symbols have emotional power and they play on it. The question is, do you know?
You have to understand the secret societies, the fraternal orders that are operating within our border. And the people who are in power in this country are working for our enemies. They are using the terms and the symbols and the words and the catchphrases of the European secret societies. They are working for our enemies. This is why no matter what you do, nothing is going to work, because the people of this country don't understand the symbols.
A symbol veils or hides a secret, and is that which veils certain mysterious forces. These energies, when released, can have a potent effect.
Jordan, what do they want? Why are they doing this?
It has to do with the objectives of some extraordinarily ancient secret societies, fraternal orders that have in mind the total domination of the human race.
Symbols are a language that can help us understand our past. As the saying goes, a picture says 1,000 words, but which words?
Spencer, tell me something about the sun.
The sun, the symbol of the light, Lucifer, the intellect, the gift, primordial knowing.
They don't worship darkness. Can't people see that their symbolism is entirely to do with the light? So when we're understanding about the sun, when we're understanding about light, when we're understanding about Luciferianism,
the kind of knowledge is on a need-to-know basis, and the powerful people in this world figure you don't need to know. This is the secret communication among powerful people around the world that are playing jokes on the working class poor and the working people of the world. Have no idea in the world how this stuff is really being played. That's why I've always believed that there is a legitimate, de jure, magical system that is being used and employed to manipulate the whole human race, and we don't even see it.
The secret is simply the fact that certain of their members worship Lucifer, and that they keep that secret from the overwhelming majority of their own members. And certainly the public is never to know this fact, if they can help it. And the evidence to support that conclusion is ample, but only to one who cares enough to look for it.
I've been looking at this one subject of the hidden words, terms, catchphrases, symbols that the Illuminati uses around the world, and I am just amazed how it's right here in America in your face, and people have no idea in the world. We have no idea.
They were brilliant. They're brilliant to be able to hide this.
In plain sight, right in front of you.
we're talking again about symbol literacy generally in life when it comes to advertisements, you see, or media, or video games, or even symbolism, art. It's very important for people to realize the subtextual messages that come across. And since people watch a lot of movies, and since movies are now, in our day and age, you know, $1 million creations, they're in your face, it's actually handy for people to watch them objectively also, like a critic, and see some amazing stuff that's, you know, being told to us through the films.
Deadly fun, but also in the sun, that's it! Devil's Snare hates sunlight. Luma Solem!
And I can tell you now that most of us have been living in fantasy land for all of our lives. We don't even know anything near what the truth of any matter is. We must begin an honest search.
Now Osiris has as a symbol an eye, and that eye, of course, is the sun. And this eye represents the sun of the underworld.
Quote, The arcana, defined as being a secret or hidden knowledge of the ancient mysteries, were never revealed to the profane, defined as those not initiated into the inner mysteries except through the media of symbols.
This symbol in the Egyptian was a ball of light surrounded by radiant rays. Therefore, the sun was radiating in all directions, lifting up everything that came in contact with, bringing death to life out of the earth. That part of the world where the sun was above the horizon was the good part, the life part. Night was the dark part. Night was darkness, mystery, and death. Day was light, brightness, and wisdom.
The symbols and the words, the terms, you start breaking it down. It's in Hollywood, it's in movies, it's in music. I don't even know what to say about this. It's just so overwhelmingly obvious.
Their symbolism is entirely to do with the light. So when we're understanding about the sun, when we're understanding about light, when we're understanding about Luciferianism.
I'm a man who sees life in terms of missions, missions defined, and missions completed. I will not allow this country to be made weak again. I will keep America moving forward, always forward, for an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light.
Their symbolism is entirely to do with the light. So when we're understanding about the sun, when we're understanding about light, when we're understanding about Luciferianism,
1,000 points of light.
1,000 points of light.
But the sun was there as a symbol of order, life, resurrection, fertility, and inwardly of the illumination of the soul.
In all time, truth has been hidden under symbols, wrote Albert Pike. And he also wrote this: symbols are nevertheless ingenious veils that cover the truth.
Once the knowledge was available, nothing could put it back again into secrecy. The only answer to this problem was to keep it secret from the beginning. Now, the problem of secrecy was largely in the hands of a philosophical priesthood, or perhaps we might say a great theological structure.
It's a worldwide thing which is going on, and the people of this earth have no comprehension whatsoever of who's doing it and how it's working. And until we do that, we're just going to keep going further and further in and never realizing who's doing it to us and how they're doing it. It's a very high technology.
The individual who desired knowledge and recognized the need of it was placed under certain restrictions, must take obligations, must prove through long training and discipline worthiness to receive knowledge. It was the purpose of these ancient teachers to make sure that nothing important to the advancement of man could be captured and held by selfishness or ambition or avarice. It was necessary, therefore, to select the custodians of knowledge.
The question of just what the ancient mysteries were, folks, was answered in part by Albert G. Mackey, another 33rd degree Mason. Quote, each of the pagan gods had, besides the public and open, a secret worship paid to him, to which none were admitted but those who had been selected by preparatory ceremonies called initiation. This secret worship was termed the mysteries. Unquote.
This is the same genuine, magic, authentic crystal used by the priests of Isis and Osiris in the days of the pharaohs of Egypt.
No, it's a pagan god Horus and his mother Isis centuries before the birth of Christ.
Light can conceal as well as reveal.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Light can blind and burn, you know, and that's what the Illuminati are calling themselves the men of light, or the princes of knowledge, or the Luciferians, for a reason, because they know how to manipulate and use light as a weapon.
Quote, ancient secret doctrine, which is concealed in Masonic allegory and symbolism. It was but to preserve these truths that Masonry was perpetuated. Unquote.
Bye.